Assalamualaikum. So this is notes for chapter 3, classifications of hazard. Okay, so the lesson outcome by completion of this topic, so you should be able to first classify hazard, and then you should be able to identify physical, biological, chemical, ergonomic, and psychosocial hazard. Okay, for this video, I will explain about point 3.1 physical hazard and 3.2 biohazard only. Managing hazard. So an effective risk and hazard management methodology allows an organization to identify hazards that pose a risk to its workers and resolve them before they cause injury or illness. So the management will identify any hazard that can occur or any possible hazard that can occur for their workers. So it should outline the process for identifying hazard within the workplace. Risk, remedy, and resources are provided for specific hazard identified within the WHS Act, Regulation and Codes of Practice. WHS Act is in terms for Work Health and Safety Act 2011. So for managing risk in the workplace, there are several factors to look out. Okay, first, response, governance, prevention, recovery, and for managing hazard, so the managing hazard will classify into 5 types of hazard, which is biological, physical, chemical, economic, and psychosocial. So first we're going to look into physical hazard. What is meant by physical hazard? It is defined as a factor within the environment that can harm the body without necessarily touching it. Vibration and noise are examples of physical hazard. So it includes but are not limited to electricity, radiation, pressure, and there are so many examples of physical hazard that have been listed here. So physical hazard can be divided into 3 parts. Okay, first is mechanical hazard, example sharp point, edge, or overload. Second one is electrical hazard, such as electrical cord insulation damage. And the third one is radioactive hazard, such as radiation. So first we're going to look into mechanical hazard first. Okay, mechanical hazards are created as a result of either powered or manual use of tools, equipment, or machinery and plant. Okay, an example of mechanical hazard is such as contact or entanglement with unguided moving part on a machine. So the basic type of hazardous mechanical for motions and actions are, so for motions, okay, because the machine can rotate, okay, reciprocating and transversing, and for actions such as cutting, punching, shearing, and bending. So machine usually have dangerous moving parts that can be classified as third point here. Okay, first, the point of operation. So during the operations, where work is performed on the material such as cutting, shaping, or forming of stock. The second one is power transmission apparatus, which is all components of the mechanical system that transmit energy to the part of the machine performing the work. Okay, this including flywheels, pulley, belts, gears, and the last one, other moving parts in the machine are all part of the machine that move while the machine is working. So it includes reciprocating, rotating, and transverse moving part, as well as feed mechanism and auxiliary part of the machine. So this is some of example of mechanical hazard associated with components and tools and their possible consequence. So this is a figure for in running midpoint. This for typical cutting hazard. And this one for cutting hazard. Knee crushing hazard and shear hazard. So this is some of the we call as sign or poster that the management put in order to alert the workers about the danger when using their machine. Okay, such as this one is rotating components. Okay, this for crash hazards, and this one for other conveying moving parts. So the worker can be alert by using this sign, so the worker can see and alert about all the dangers that may happen to them. So requirement for safeguard: first, to prevent the contact, and then secure, then protect from falling objects, create no new hazards, create no interference, and allow safe lubrication. So for safe work practice, beside machine guiding, there are other safe work practice that can be followed to help prevent injuries associated with moving machinery. Okay, first, avoid loose clothing or jewelry and tie up loose hair to prevent it from becoming entangled in the moving parts. And then use push stick and tamper for pushing stock or food into the point of operations. Never reach your hands toward the point of operations. The third one is allow time for machine to stop moving once it turn off, because some blades will take up time about 50 seconds to spin down when power down. Dia tak fully stop right. When you stop, you push the turn off buttons, is not automatically stop, so it ada delay time still. And then ensure the machine is unplugged, locked and tagged out before removing guard for cleaning or maintenance. And then use the proper blade at the proper operating speed as specified by the manufacturer of the equipment. And last but not least, maintain blades and bits in good condition and replace when damaged. So this is a work practice, safe work practice that must be included in your work practice. Okay, now we are going to look into the second type of physical hazard, which is electrical hazard. So an electrical hazard is a dangerous condition where a worker can or does make electrical contact with energized equipment or a conductor. So electricity can be either static or dynamic. Dynamic electricity means that the uniform motion of electrons through conditions, so means the electric current, while static electricity is the accumulation of charge on surface as a result of contact and friction with another surface. Hazards are created when cords, cord connectors, receptacles, and cord and plug connected equipments are improperly used and maintained. Okay, this is the picture of improperly equipment. So most common electrical hazard in the workplace is such as inadequate wiring, exposed electrical parts, overheat power lines, defective insulation, improper grounding, overload circuits, wet conditions, damaged tool and equipment, and improper PPE. So this is some example of electrical hazard. Okay, here is handheld sander has exposed wire. Okay, this exposed electrical wire around electronic equipment. This one is operating a crane near overheat wire. Okay, overload circuits and damaged extension cord. So there are four main types of electrical injuries. Okay, first one is electrocutions with death due to electrical shock. Then second one is electrical shock. Third one is burns, and fourth is falls. Body will receive an electrical shock if a part of our body completes an electrical circuit by first touching a live wire and electrical ground, or the second one is touching a live wire and another wire at a different voltage. So the danger from electrical shock depends on the amount of the shocking current through the body. Example, high voltage will cause additional injuries. Higher voltage can cause larger currents and more severe shock. The greater the current, the greater the shock. Severity of shock depends on voltage, amperage and resistance. Lower resistance cause greater current. Okay, the second one is about the durations of the shocking current. Okay, the longer the shock, the greater the injury. The third one is the path of the shocking current. Okay, currents that across the chest are very dangerous. Okay, this is some of picture when electrical burns on hand and arm with third degree burn from high voltage line. So these are dangers of electrical shock. Besides that, electrical hazard also include electrical fire, which is electricity is one of the most common cause of fire and thermal burns in home and workplace. Defective or misused electrical equipment is a major causes of electrical fire. So this is some of the clues that hazards are present. First, trip circuit breaker and blow fuse show that too much current is flowing in circuit or they are performed exist. So this condition could be due to the several factors such as malfunctioning equipment. So you need to determine the cause in order to control the hazard. The second one is an electrical tools, appliance, wire, field worms may indicate too much current in the circuit or equipment. So you need to evaluate the situation and determine your risk. The one is an extension cord that field worm may indicate too much current for the wire size of the cord of that a fault exists. And the fourth, a cable, fuse box or junction box that field worm may indicate too much current in the circuit. And next is a burning odor may indicate overheat insulation. And the sixth, worn, frayed or damaged insulation around any wire or other conductor is an electrical hazard because the conductors could be exposed. So when you have contact with an exposed wire, will cause a shock and will you need to evaluate the seriousness of any damage you find and decide how to deal with the hazard. The seventh is a GFCI, meaning of ground fault circuit interrupter. Trips indicates that there is a current leakage from the circuit. So first you must decide the probable cause of the leakage by recognizing any contributing hazard. Then you must decide what action need to be taken. So for controlling electrical hazard, so control contact with electrical voltage and control electrical currents to create a safe work environment. So first you must lock out and take out circuit and machines, okay, LOTO. Second one is to prevent overloaded wiring by using the right size and type of wire. Okay, next is prevent exposure to live electrical part by isolating them. Then prevent exposure to live wire and parts by using insulation. Okay, then you can prevent by shocking current from electrical system and tools by grounding them. Prevent shocking current by using GFCIs. Okay, prevent too much current in circuit by using overcurrent protection device. And last but not least, prevent against electrical shock or arc blast when working live by using proper PPE and protective tools. So I'm going to discuss controlling electrical hazard and number 1 and number 6. Okay, for number 1, lock out and take out circuit equipment, LOTO. Means that before working on a circuit, you must turn off the power supply. And once the circuit has been shut off and de-energized, lock out the switch gear to the circuit so the power cannot be turned back on inadvertently. And then take out the circuit with an easy to see sign or label that lets everyone knows that you are working on the circuit. Ni macam bila you nak buat maintenance, okay, so you shut off the power supply and then you letak tag so orang boleh tahu that ada orang tengah bekerja in the circuit punya part. Okay, so this is a use cover to prevent accidental contact with electrical current circuits, and the exposed electrical equipment is guided by 8-foot fence. Okay, ni grounding rod in the earth and grounding type receptacle. Okay, next is GFCI. So this is a ground fault circuit interrupter. It's a device that detects current leakage from circuit to ground and shut the current off. So if leakage current is detected, Okay, in a GFCI protected circuit, the GFCI will switch off the current in the circuit, so it protecting you from a dangerous shock. GFCIs are set at about 5 milliampere and are designed to protect workers from electrocutions, and these are able to detect the loss of current resulting from leakage through a person who is beginning to be shocked. If this situation occurs, GFCI switch off the current in the circuit, and they are different from circuit breaker because they detect leakage current rather than overload. So this is the function of GFCI. Okay, the third type under physical hazard is radioactive hazard. So hazard from radiation can happen when external sources of radiation or from radioactive material taken into the body. There are two kinds of radiation. First one is ionizing radiation, which can affect the atom in living things, so it poses a health risk by damaging tissues and DNA in genes. And the second one is non-ionizing radiation, so it including radio wave, microwave, visible light, and this non-ionization radiation is less energetic compared to ionizing radiation. So type of ionizing radiation and penetrating powers for alpha particles is stopped by a sheet of paper and cannot penetrate the outer dead layer of skin. For beta particles, it is stopped by a layer of clothing or by a thin sheet of a substance such as aluminium, while for gamma ray, it is stopped by several feet of concrete or a few inches of lead. So this is power of this particle to penetrating any layer. So understanding radiation risk. So radiation can damage living tissues by changing the cell structure and damaging DNA. So the amount of damage depends upon the type of radiation, its energy, and also the total amount of radiation absorbed. The higher the radiation dose, the greater the chance of developing the cancer. So the chance of developing cancer, not the seriousness of the cancer, increases as the radiation dose increases. So cancer caused by radiations do not appear until years after the radiation exposure. Some people are more likely to develop cancer from radiation exposure than others. So for damage from radioactive hazard by dose, some form of radiation can cause damage when the radiation dose exceeds a certain limit, usually 1 sievert SP radiation units. So this damage may include for radiation dermatitis, cataract, organ failure, and radiation sickness. Other type of radiation, the risk of damage increase as the dose of radiation increase. So this is the radiation source and dose, and this is the damage that may happen. So for 6,000 milli SP, this dose which may lead to death with acute exposure. So if you have 0.01 radiation dose, so this dose of radiation to a patient having a tooth X-ray. Okay, so for 100 milli SP, the highest permitted dose for a radiation worker over a period of 5 years. So this one you can read by yourself. Okay, tadi damage from radioactive hazard by dose, now is by duration of expose. Okay, for example, cancer will caused by radiation, so it induces a mutation. So usually cancer develop years after exposure, and when radioactive leaks from a nuclear reactor, it can cause rise in mutation rates, and rise in mutation rates can lead to cancer such as leukemia, birth defect, and to hereditary diseases. Principle of radioactive protection. So the basic principle of radioactive protection is ALARA, means exposure as low as reasonably achievable. The radiation damage can be controlled by limiting exposure. So the International Commission of Radiation Protection recommends first, avoid unnecessary personal radiation exposure. Second one is to keep occupational exposure as low as possible, and the last one is do not exceed those limits. Working with radioactive material. So before you work with any radioactive material, so you are required to first contact the radiation safety officer to obtain approval for use of a particular isotope, and then need to attend radiation management training. Okay, you need to obtain a radiation monitoring badge and then work using SOP that has been approved by the Department Radiation Safety Officer. So for handling and use of radioactive material, so please do familiarize yourself with the nature of the radiation emitted by the isotope and the tolerable level of radiation permissible for both short and long-term exposure. Next, please do remember the distance from the radioactive sources is the most effective way of reducing exposure. Work with appropriate shielding. And then cover working area with bench cord. Use plastic tray to hold your radioactive samples, pipettes or glassware. Mop all or spilling immediately using paper towels. And please do wear disposable rubber or polyethylene gloves while handling the isotopes. And please don't go near the material without wearing a firm badge. Okay, don't forget to monitor radioactivity before and after every experiment using the handheld monitor where relevant or random swab. Don't eat, drink, smoke or apply cosmetic while working with radioactive materials, and please don't mouth pipette radioactive material used up with pipettes. Use a safety device. So internal radiation hazard, irradiation of internal organ and tissue can occur due to active material entering the body by the following route. So by direct skin irradiation, okay, first inhalations, depending on the particle size, the material may become locked in different areas. Okay, by ingestions, usually insoluble material will pass through the gut and be excreted, but soluble material will find its way to the whole body or to specific organ. And last one is wounds. So this route operates in a similar way to ingestion. So this is a what I can say irradiation of internal organ tissue due to this exposure. Okay, so for dealing with radioactive spill, first you need to report all spillage immediately to both your supervisor and the departmental radiation officer, and then you need to isolate the suspected area of contamination. Then you need to identify, if possible, the type of contaminations. Next, determine the area of contaminations by monitoring after taking the necessary precaution. Okay. Then next, starting from the outer edge, decontaminate the area in convenient sectors by wiping and scrubbing. Then before moving on, ensure that the sector is clean by monitoring. And last, dispose all radioactive waste according to the appropriate requirement. Okay, that's all for physical hazard. Now we're going to look into our second type of hazard, which is biological hazard. So biological hazard refers to organism or organic matter produced by these organisms that are harmful to human health. So these include parasite, virus, bacteria, fungi, and protein. In general, there are three major routes of entry for this microorganism into our body. First is through respiratory system. Second, transmission through contact with body fluids or after infected. And third, contact with contaminated object. So the harmful effect posed to human health by this biological hazard are mainly of three types, which is we call as infections, allergy, and poisoning. So occupation and workplace where people may come into contact with biological hazard. First, medical staff, cleaning staff and laboratory technician in the medical professions, healthcare service, cleaning service and property management. Employee in environmental hygiene service such as liquid waste and rubbish collection and disposal, agriculture, fishery, veterinary service and manufacturing industry that use plant or animal-based raw materials such as paper and paper product, textile, leather and fur and related product. Indoor workplace like entertainment premise, restaurant and hotels where employees generally work in enclosed area with central air conditioning. Any microorganism breeding inside the air conditioning system or cooling tower may spread in the workplace through the air conditioning system. And in the office building, so the furnishing material like carpets, wallpapers, the pot plants and plates that are wet and damp or utensils that hold water are likely to be the breeding ground of a microorganism. So how to prevent and control the measure? First, elimination of the sources of contamination is fundamental to the prevention and control of biological hazard. Second one is engineering control such as improvement of ventilation, partial isolation of the contamination sources, installation of negative pressure and separate ventilation and air conditioning system. And the use of ultraviolet lamps can help contain the spread of contaminants. And third, if the contact with biological hazard cannot be prevented, so the employee must use personal protective equipment (PPE) and adhere strictly to the practice of personal hygiene. So the personal protective equipment include mask, glove, protective clothing, eye shield, face shield, and shoes cover. So for respiratory protection, by using appropriate respiratory protective equipment, this is important for securing an adequate protection from biological hazard. Common protective equipment include surgical masks, N95 or higher level respirators, power air purifying respirator, or air supply respirator. So we look into one by one. Surgical mask is generally consists of 3 layers of non-woven fabric. It provides a barrier protection against large respiratory droplet. So this is how to use disposable mask. First, you must put the mask over the face. Tie the string behind the head. Gently press the metallic string over the bridge of nose, and the mask should cover from the nose to the chin and fix snugly over the face. For N95 or higher level respirator, so this type of respirator filter out particulate and liquid droplet in small particle size. Therefore, they provide the protection from inhaling aerosol and microorganisms that are airborne. In general, there are no oil mist or fume as in hospital setting. Respirator on the N series with filter efficiency of 95%, 99% or 99.97% are suitable. In the environment where there are significant amount of oil mist, then the R series respirator, which is R stand for oil resistant, or the P series where P stand for oil proof should be used. So this is an example of N95 or higher level respirators. So this is how you need to wear a N95 mask. So you choose a small or medium size face piece that fit the face. Pull the headbands loose and the metallic strip should be uppermost, and then you put on the mask. Headband should be around the head and neck, and then you press the metallic strips on both sides with 4 fingers, and then you seal check. Positive pressure checking, we mean cover the mask lightly with both hands. Breathe with deliberation. Air should not leak out from the side of the mask. For negative pressure checking, cover the mask lightly with both hands, suck in air with deliberation, and the mask should depress slightly inward. Next is powered air purifying respirator. This type of respirator use an electric pullover to bring the air through the filter to the user, so it makes it more comfortable to wear. And last one is air supplying respirator. So clean air is supplied by air compressor or high pressure cylinder through a hose. This is a protective clothing. So protective clothing include protective coverall, which with attached hood, gown, apron, head and shoe cover. So the protective clothing should be waterproof or impervious to liquid to protect the body from contamination by blood, droplets or other body fluids and prevent this contaminant from getting into the body through open wounds or contaminating the worker's own clothing, thus reducing the chance of spreading of pathogen and cross-infection. So this is how to put the protective clothing. So you take up the gown with the back facing the wearer, slip the arm through the sleeve first and tie the collar string behind the neck and then tie the string around the waist. Okay. So to take off your protective clothing, you need to loosen the collar string, slip off the sleeve on both sides and the upper part of the gown and turn the gown inside out, roll it outward and dispose. Okay. Next protection is goggle or face shield. So safety goggle or glasses and face shields can protect the eyes from contacting pathogen, carrying blood, droplets or other body fluid which may then enter the body through the mucosa. So glasses without side shield can only protect the front from liquid splash. Goggles fit the face snugly and therefore are better than glasses in eye protection. If necessary, face shield should be used to protect the whole face. So how to put goggle? Hold the goggle with one hand and place them in front of the eyes and put the headband around the head and just to fit. Okay, to take off the goggle, so you need to hold the goggle slightly and slip off the headband and keep the goggle in the proper place or sterilize them. Okay, this is how to put and to take off you punya goggle. So other control for biohazard, selain daripada tadi, which you use glove, okay, shoes cover, use sterilization and of course the personal hygiene. So you need to wash your hand before and after work. So this is a reference for biological hazard. For this next lecture notes will be in part 2. Thank you.